What's going on, guys? Billy here, and my philosophy when reviewing a big power station like the 757 here from Anker is that it needs to do something special. It needs to have a standout feature that separates it from the rest of the hundreds of other power stations on the market because, after all, it is just a big battery. Now, there is plenty that we are going to be covering in this video, like the 757's port selection and build quality, as well as the input and output power to show what this thing is able to power. But the one thing that makes this power station so different, so unique, and quite frankly, so powerful is its battery chemistry. It's the amount of charge cycles the battery can withstand before showing signs of degradation. So as you continue to put wear and tear on a battery through discharging and charging the battery, it's going to eventually lower its maximum capacity that it can hold. This is why I say an iPhone, for example, after being used for years on end, is going to hold less of a charge than it did when it was brand new. Inside of most of these smartphones, you have a lithium-ion battery powering your device, and while Apple doesn't disclose how many charge cycles their batteries are rated for, you can expect about 500 full cycles before the battery will begin holding less than 80% of its total capacity. This same metric is true for other power stations on the market, like EcoFlow's Delta Max here, which has a lithium-ion battery pack inside that is rated for 800 charge cycles before the battery will dip under 80% of its total capacity. On the other hand, the Anker 757 power station uses a different battery chemistry, so there's a lithium iron phosphate battery pack inside of here that is rated for upwards of 3,000 charging cycles. I mean, think about the amount of usage and the mileage that you could get out of this power station. Let's say that you are a heavy user and you planned on draining this battery down to 0% each and every single day from charging your batteries and powering your devices, only to charge it back to a full 100 and do the same the next day, fully discharge the battery. You could do that each and every single day for 8 years straight before you reach that 3,000 cycle count that Anker is promoting, before you see degradation on the battery, under 80% degradation. And that is just crazy. I mean, 8 years. By then, you're going to probably purchase a new power station because new technology and different ports have come out. So just think about the longevity of this power station here. I mean, I own a Tesla. I have a Model Y. I put 90,000 miles on the car in the first year and a half, and I'm genuinely worried about the battery. I mean, how long is that going to last me? That is a very expensive repair. But with a battery like this, where I'm charging drone batteries and powering other devices on the go, I almost don't care how much I use it because it's rated for so many cycles. On top of the ridiculous amount of charging cycles that this battery is rated for, Anker also provides a 5-year guarantee on the batteries inside of this power station, so it shows that they're confident that this power station is going to last you for years to come. Now let's dig a little bit deeper here and get into build quality. This power station is one heavy unit, as the amount of energy the batteries can store is massive. This exterior shell, though, makes it easy to cart around with the two handles at the top that are reinforced by this aluminum frame, so all the gray accents around the edges are metal, while everything else is constructed of a high quality plastic. The look of the power station is also really badass, with blue accents on the vents and of course the two-tone color between the aluminum and plastic, and these big rubber feet on the bottom keep the power station in place during travel and protect the surface that it's sitting on. Just a side note, if you need something that is a little bit smaller and more lightweight, you can look at Anker's other offerings, their 525 and 535 power stations. These are again smaller, so the battery isn't as large, but if you'd rather have a more portable solution, then these are both fantastic options and give you all the ports that you need to charge and power your devices on the go. Anker makes quality products through and through, from their power cables to their power bricks to their power stations, but the 757 is built unlike any other power station that I've reviewed and featured here on my channel in a good way. This thing is built like a tank. There's no bending, no bowing, no creaking in the body, and I think a lot of that has to do with this aluminum frame on the outside. It kind of keeps everything together and makes everything feel rigid, and it's a good thing, right? Because think about what this is going to be used for. It'll be brought outside on camping trips. It'll be thrown in the back of a truck bed. It might even be brought onto construction sites. I mean, this power station is definitely going to take a beating, but it's built to take a beating. Now, while we're on the topic of hardware, let's discuss these ports here on the front. Now, hold up. Actually, before we get to the front of the power station, I quickly want to point out that on the backside of the power station is our input. So we have the car and solar input, as well as our AC input, which flank our overcharge protection button. These ports here are covered by a plastic flap to keep dust and debris out. Now, flipping around to the front, we have all of the output ports, some switches, switches, and of course this big screen. So through this display, we're able to monitor our input power, output power, our charge mode, the ports that are active, the remaining charging time, the remaining capacity, and it shows some different alerts like the temperature alarm and the power saving mode. To the left of the display here is our power saving switch that will switch the Powerstation off if it detects that the devices don't need power anymore, and to the right of the display is a button to illuminate the panel to view all the information that we just covered. Now moving down the front side here, working from left to right, we have our car outlet accompanied by a power switch to toggle this on and off. Next is our suite of USB ports, 4 of which are USB-A and 2 of which are USB-C. And finally, we have 6 AC outlets that are also accompanied by a power switch to toggle these ports on and off. Keeping these off when not in use will mitigate phantom power drain when nothing is plugged in. Also, if you're interested, at the top of the Powerstation here, there's an LED bar that emits a warm light. It has 3 modes, low, medium, and high, and the batteries inside can supply power to this light for days on end, which is great for emergency situations or lighting smaller areas for longer periods of time. All right, so now it's time to actually jump inside of the Powerstation here and talk about what this thing can power and how much power it can provide, because after all, it is a battery, right? So the lithium iron phosphate battery pack inside holds 1,229 watt hours of power, giving you the ability to bring a serious amount of power with you no matter what you plan on using this to charge or power on the go. Now through the AC input, you can charge this Powerstation at 1,000 watts, which can fill the battery from 0 to 80% in just 1 hour. If you're instead charging to a full 100%, it'll take you around an hour and a half, but regardless, with how much energy this battery can hold, it is really impressive that it can charge that fast. Now on the topic of output power, the car outlet provides up to 120 watts of power. Each USB-A port outputs 12 watts of power, while this top USB-C port outputs 100 watts of power, and the bottom USB-C port outputs 60 watts of power. Now onto the AC outlets, which can output a whopping 1,500 watts of power. They use pure sine wave technology for a smooth output current and are what I use most for charging my drone batteries, but of course can also power some seriously heavy-duty devices. With that said, I went around my house and found 8 different everyday items that could be powered off of Anker's 757 Powerstation here so that I could report my findings back to you and you could understand what to expect for similar devices in your home. So the first thing I wanted to try was a larger fridge in my basement that required about 100 watts of continuous power to run. So the Powerstation estimated that I could run that fridge and power that fridge for up to 9 hours, which is a good amount of time to say hold you over through a power outage to keep your perishables nice and cool. Now moving on from there, I also tried a mini fridge and it said that it could power that for about 37 hours, which is much better than the larger fridge. Now I also tried some fairly power hungry devices like a hairdryer that required a ridiculous amount of power. The Powerstation here only said it could last for about 0.7 hours, and the fans inside kicked on almost immediately because the hairdryer was sucking down the battery so fast. But usually if you're drying your hair, it's going to be fairly quick, so I don't think that you're going to be doing it for a full 45 minutes, but just know that in the little time you use it, it's going to use up a lot of battery. Now the same is true for a portable heater. I found it used around the same amount of energy, actually a little bit less, and it said it could run for 0.8 hours, the fans kicked on, so it's very similar to the hairdryer. Now to my surprise, I plugged a portable air conditioning unit here into the Powerstation and it could run that for about 2.5 hours at 450 watts. So if you have a power outage during the day, you could keep one room nice and cool if it is just super hot outside. Now I also tried a smaller cooling device like a fan, which only sipped 22 watts of power, and the Powerstation said I could run that for 21 hours. So maybe that's going to be your move if you say have a power outage on a hot day and you need to keep cool. Try out a fan before trying a portable AC unit. Now moving on to an item that's not so everyday, my Aperture 120D. It's my big light that I use to light my set here that I'm shooting my video at. And at full 100% brightness, my Powerstation could power that light for 5.5 hours, drawing about 165 watts of power. But I actually shoot these videos with 65% brightness on the light, and it said that it could power that for 15 hours at 30 watts. So that's really good. I mean, I'm definitely going to be able to use this on, say, client shoots when I need to bring this light with me. I'll never have to worry about having an outlet close by. I'll just plug into this and have portable power wherever I go. Now the final thing I tried was plugging my whole entire desk into this Powerstation. It kind of fluctuated depending on what I was doing and what I was using. I've got my laptop plugged in, 2 monitors, I'm charging some things, I've got some hard drives running, so there's a lot being powered off of this Powerstation. I found myself getting around 200 watts of power used, and it said that I could run my desk for a little over 5.5 hours, which is impressive and could be very helpful during a power outage. Now those are just some of the things things that you can power around your house using Anker's 757 Powerstation. Of course, there are plenty of other things that you could use this to power and charge. I'll put a list of other things that Anker recommends up here on the screen, but we have got to move on to my favorite part of the video, my biggest use case for this power station, and that is charging drone batteries on the go. A lot of the drones I use require chargers that use proprietary plugs, proprietary charging cables, proprietary ports, so I need to go directly off the AC outlet because they are larger batteries. I can't just charge them off of a USB-C port. And what's so great about having a battery this big is that when you bring it with you, flight time is basically a non-issue. Like, you can fly all day long with no issues whatsoever. So I tested out 6 of the most popular drones on the market to see how many charges or extra flights you can expect out of one full charge on the 757 power station. These drones were the Mavic 3, the Air 2S, the Mini 3 Pro, the Mini 2, the DJI FPV Drone, and the Autel EVO II. The numbers here on the screen is what I found the charging station could output, so you're getting dozens of extra flights on most of these drones. I mean, we're talking over 16 extra flights on the Mavic 3, 25 extra flights on the Mavic Air 2 or Air 2S, and you can recharge your mini batteries well over 100 times. I have 1% written on this chart simply because I'm rounding numbers, but when I fully charged a new Mini 3 battery, the power station didn't even drop off of 100%. Now, as of recent, I've been using this power station on some more heavy duty missions because of its larger capacity and its size. So when I'm out, say, flying a larger drone like the new Matrice 30, this thing will keep me in the air for longer, providing countless charges even to those much larger batteries. Now, I have to warn you, if you pick up one of these power stations and you are a drone flyer, you're probably going to become the most invited person to every single meetup, to every single group session flight, because everybody's going to want to charge off of your power station. But it's all good because you can charge up to 6 drones and even more if you've got smaller drones off of the USB-C ports. So you can charge a lot of stuff off of this power station. And again, you're going to be good to fly all day long because of how much power you can provide to these drone batteries. Now, moving on from here, I want to wrap this video up by talking about solar. Now, I don't have the solar panel that is made for this power station, but just know that this power station can input a maximum of 300 watts through that solar panel. And just think about all of the devices I mentioned in this video and how many of them require less than 300 watts of power to actually be used. This means that if you can find peak sunlight, you can effectively negate the power that is being used, thus giving you unlimited power. The battery at this point is pretty much just acting as a buffer to plug in and get that power from the sun. You could keep your fridge running all day long, you could run a fan or some studio lights literally forever, and you could have multiple drone batteries plugged in without at all pulling from the battery itself and just pulling from the sun. And so guys, that is the Anker 757 power station. It is built like an absolute brick house. It's built like a tank. It's got a great port selection, although I wish they included more USB-C ports, and overall it outputs a lot of power to power and charge all the devices around your house. It's great to have in case of an emergency, a power outage, but also it's great to bring with you for portable power if you're, say, running lights like I am, if you're wanting to charge drone batteries or any batteries for that matter, or literally power anything. This thing is going to be able to handle it. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on the 757 down in the comments section below, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.